welcome to the OU Saxophone Studios Saxophone Deep Dive topic on circular breathing. So today we're going to talk about circular breathing and how to really start practicing it. I think that the main thing with circular breathing to get us started and headed in the right direction is to have your cheeks filled up with air at first and not using your lungs at all to breathe out. So in order to do this, I want you to bubble up your cheeks, and then I want you to use your fingers to push the air out of your mouth. Whenever you do that, no air should be coming from your chest. Your lungs shouldn't be involved in the process at all. It's only the air being pushed out of your cheeks. Now, doing that is helpful. So now I want you to do the same thing, but instead of pushing with your fingers to get that air to come out, I want you to push with your cheek muscles. So no air is coming out of my lungs. There's no air coming out of my lungs. It's just all from the cheeks. That's the first step. Now the next step is to be able to breathe in while doing that. And that can be very hard if we don't have any resistance on our person. With just our mouth, it's very hard to. If you work a lot and get everything all figured out, you can do it, but it can be very hard. So I like to do this next trick, which is to get a glass of water and a straw. So what we're going to be doing with this is you're going to bend the tip of the straw over a little bit to create a little bit of resistance, and you're going to blow bubbles into the water. So now while you do that, you should be able to. This is where we practice pushing air from our cheeks and breathing in through our nose. If you're circular breathing right, you should be able to keep the bubbles going for a long time. Now, this is something I did a lot when I was learning to circular breathe. Anytime I would go out to restaurants with my family, I would just sit there and annoy my mom and dad by sitting there with a straw and whatever drink I had that night and just blowing bubbles, no matter how fancy the restaurant. And if they got on to me, I'd say, "Hey, Ma, Dad, I'm practicing." So it's a great way to have a little bit of fun at restaurants if you want to sort of get under the skin of your family. But then once we get really, really comfortable with that, we need to find a way to incorporate it onto the saxophone. Now, while the straw technique is great for getting that initial motion of breathing in through your nose while you're pushing air out through your cheeks, it's quite a bit less air than you'll be using on the saxophone. So the note that I used to start circular breathing was octave G. Octave G has not a ton of resistance, but just the right amount, and the pitch doesn't change super easily. So it's a good note to start on when we're learning to apply what we've done with the cup of water to the saxophone. So we can circular breathe while we're playing that note. And from there, one thing that you may find it difficult at first whenever you're practicing circular breathing is, how can I circular breathe while I'm changing notes? So what I would recommend for that is do a 5-note pattern, maybe just the first 5 notes of any scale. Let's say the C major scale, starting on middle C, and trying to circular breathe over those 5 notes. Because that's a little bit easier than trying to put it into a situation where we're moving our fingers really fast. And while it's good to be able to circular breathe in that context, we have to work up in baby steps. Now, once you get a 5-note pattern, I would work on expanding circular breathing to all ranges of the horn. It's easier to do it. It's easier to circular breathe from about, I would say, octave B down to low G. But there have been times when I've needed to circular breathe on lower notes than that and higher notes than that. So it's important to go through the range of the horn and practice that. And the goal should always be to try and make the tone change as little as possible whenever we're circular breathing. We don't want our tone to change just because we need more air. We want to have a beautiful singing tone the whole time. Now, if you're practicing circular breathing and you're having a whole lot of trouble with the tone changing a lot, even after you've gotten the glass of water trick and you've gotten where you can do it, it's probably because as you're circular breathing, you're tightening in on your pressure around the mouthpiece quite a bit. So we need to aim to make sure that our corners are supplying all the pressure to our embouchure and that the bottom jaw stays low, because it can be easy to push that bottom jaw up and create a bit forced sound whenever we circular breathe. If I bite, yeah, sure, I'm doing the circular breathing, but it sounds really forced and there's a little bit of a break because I'm biting up. So working on circular breathing can be fun. Just work with the glass of water. Another trick you can do if the glass of water isn't working for you is put one finger in front of your mouth and try circular breathing like that. It just gives you a little bit of resistance for you to push against. And you can do the same thing where you're just blowing out through these holes in the side of the mouth and you're keeping that pressure there and you're pushing air out through your cheeks while you're breathing in through your nose. All right, and I hope that this helped you on your journey with circular breathing. Happy practicing, guys.